Hello, everyone. Here I am talking to my dear friend. I'm so excited, Jane. Thank you. Jane Barlow Christensen. And Jane is now the owner of Barlow Herbals. And I had the beauty and the wonderful moment of meeting her dad, 1982 or 80 or something, when I was a student at the National College of Naturopathic Medicine in Portland, Oregon. And then I met Jane like many, many years later. And I was so excited. I said, I have your dad's book. He came to school. I remember him and I have a signed copy. And it was just the beginning of a wonderful friendship. So I use Jane's products, and every woman I work with breast cancer is put on what I call the Jane Barlow protocol. There we go. And everyone needs to be on these. But Jane is a master herbalist, and she's going to talk about these products and her Lomatium and her wonderful book, which I can't find because I lent it to somebody. And what's what happens? I lend it to people and they don't return it. So I gift it to them.
Oh,
So welcome, Jane. So happy to have you here.
thanks, Carol. Yeah, it was funny when we first met and you realized that I'm not sure how that conversation went about as far as connecting the dots with my dad. But if you were studying herbs and you were into botanical medicine on the level that obviously you were, especially when he used to lecture at these different schools, it would only make sense that you would meet him, because it's kind of a small circle. At least it was back then, of the people.
Very small.
Yeah. And so it was kind of like, oh, a kindred spirit. Like when you and I met, it was like, oh, this is really cool, because it's becoming less and less that I meet people that knew my dad, just because he's been gone for a long time now, and I'm getting older and we're all getting older. So it's like, it's just getting rare. So you're one of those rare friends that knew my dad, which I love.
And I went up to her and I said, I know your dad. And that was the beginning of I told her how I had met him. He came to school and he was such a kind soul. And sometimes people who are expert can be really snobby, and you and he are not that. So it was just really wonderful. But Jane is a wealth of knowledge and she's here to talk to us. Let's just start out with my two favorite products.
Yeah, those are some of my favorites too. So those are two of my dad's originals, and the one Esiac or Easiac, some people pronounce it differently, but it's the last name spelled backwards of the Canadian nurse who formulated originally, brewed it into a tea and used it for many years. And this formula is now about 100 years old. Did you realize that?
No, I didn't know it was that old. I thought it was 40 or 50, but 100 is a lot. Yeah.
Almost, well, it might even, I think it was either 20 or 21 where it was 100 years. So this is not a new formula. It's been around for a century. It's been used extensively. You could do a Google search on it, and it's spelled ESSIAC, and it would give you a lot of information just on a normal Google search. And of course, we know that maybe some of the information that's out there on Google is not 100% what you might get. But the cool thing about this formula is it was traditionally had 4 herbs in it, and it was formulated by this Canadian nurse named Renee Casey, or her name was actually pronounced Reen Case. But she was a nurse, and she was given this formula by a Native American man who was, can't remember the exact story, if it was his wife or somebody was dealing with breast cancer. And so this is a traditional formulation of the Native Americans, and the herbs are Native American. And she brewed it into a tea, and then it was studied extensively. And the coolest thing about this is, in the late 1960s, my dad worked with her for several years, and just because his love was Native American plants too. That was just where, we live, I grew up in Idaho. I currently live in Utah. My dad studied the plants of the west of the United States, and the Native American plants in particular. That was just his deep, deep passion and love. And he geeked out completely when it came to plants, what time of year to collect them, how to use them, what part of the plant to use, like, and the Latin names and the common names. I mean, my childhood
Beautiful.
was insane.
No, it's beautiful. That is, I mean, that knowledge needs to be passed down through the generations so we don't lose it, and we respect, and plants are this gift of the earth and all the different components of them, and as you mentioned, when to harvest and what part and what do you do with it. How that knowledge was transmitted to people is amazing.
Yeah, well,
So
Mother Earth is so perfect. And the thing is, it's really fairly recently, if you look at the history of humans, that we've been using unnatural methods to help ourselves get well. Really, what's traditional medicine is herbs and holistic, connecting with Mother Earth and all of the gifts that she has. There's so much rich tradition with not just the Native Americans, but every single indigenous people have these centuries and centuries of beautiful, rich traditions of helping people be well. And you're right about being passed down generation to generation. And that's, both my sons work with me, and my almost 11-year-old granddaughter, that's what she wants to do. She wants to work with me.
your 11-year-old granddaughter?
So it's generational. I think I was a Native American medicine woman in another life. I have these dreams sometimes that's like, I see myself with a native blanket wrapped around me, and it's just, it's very cool.
That's beautiful. I really respect that. I think that that is as real as the conversation we're having right now.
100%. Yeah. You kind of feel something like that deep in your bones, right?
So let's get back to the Essiac. So here we are.
Okay.
Here we are.
So you can see how to spell it. So after my dad worked with her, he added 2 herbs to the traditional 4 herbs that are in it. So the Essiac 20 that we make into a tincture is a powerful, long-standing remedy for cancer. And I have found it to be effective on almost every single type of cancer. And the nice thing about it too is the herbs in there have powerful blood cleansing properties. So besides all the anti-cancer benefits, it helps to purify and cleanse the blood, which is really, really nice. And the cool thing is you can use that tincture topically on suspicious things like suspicious moles and whatnot, as well as take it internally. So it doesn't have just one application, it's a broad spectrum in the types of cancers it covers, and also its application there's a couple things.
That's wonderful. So how do the herbs work together to cleanse the blood? And let's talk about what the individual herbs are.
So the traditional 4 herbs are turkey rhubarb, sheep sorrel, and I hate to say this, it's actually
I don't remember either all the time. So I mean,
yeah, no, it's okay. We had company over this weekend, so I was up kind of late last night. But you'd think I'd know these. So there's sheep sorrel, turkey rhubarb, slippery elm, and burdock root. And then my dad added bloodroot and watercress to this.
Watercress, huh?
Yeah, watercress. If you look at the watercress alone, that has powerful anti-cancer properties. In fact, bloodroot, if you've ever, I'm sure you're familiar with black salve.
Mm-hmm.
So black salve, the main herb in that is bloodroot. It's a drawing salve. It helps those
toxins out, because I use watercress and juice formulas to help women detoxify. So
yes, exactly. Because I believe that cancer is definitely, there's a biology happening with cancer. And this probably is not there. There's a whole other topic about.
Oh, that we can digress to that. It's not digress. It's just the truth. Cancer is a metabolic disease. It has its own biology, and our job is to get those wayward cells to start paying attention to the rules of stop and go, and the wayward cells to like die and disappear and be eliminated. So herbal medicine really is amazing for that. So what were you saying? Yes.
No, I just think that we don't give our body enough credit for the way it is able to heal when it gets the right tools. Mm-hmm. I think that we get this sentence of the big C word, and it immediately puts us into, and not everyone, but most people they have this fear and anxiety, and because it has so much, it's such a scary thing. But I think what we need to realize is when your body gets the right tools on a holistic level, not just herbally, nutritionally, all of this, it knows how to be well. It knows how to heal. If your body created it, your body can heal it. It's that simple. So I think it's just paying attention to like all the things that you teach your clients, and then paying attention to your own intuition, because we've learned, we've been taught, that's been like taught out of us. You know, if something that feels not right, we don't pay attention to that. So I think that that's a really important piece, is like when you hear something, even if it's something that I'm saying, it just doesn't quite feel right to you, then that means that's a no. Like there's that gut intuition piece that we've all been given. So that's kind of where I was digressing.
That's great.
Yeah.
So your dad added the additional 2 herbs to it, and now we have this phenomenal bottle, and which I take every morning with the E-Star. So, and I also use some Lomatium and your Brain Glow. I make this very powerful. And you said I need adaptogens, which is 100%. But
yeah,
15 drops of each of these in some warm water when you wake up in the morning. Yes, last week I was talking about how we start the day determines the metabolic messaging that our cells expect throughout the day. So if you start your day with these tinctures, you're giving your body the message of healing and herbal medicine and powerful energy, as opposed to coffee or black tea and a scone or oatmeal or anything like that. So let's talk about the E-Star.
Yeah, so the E-Star is a combination of 4 herbs, Pata Arco, Suma root, chaparral, and Chinese astragalus. And this is one of my dad's original formulations as well. And what it's designed to do is facilitate T cell function, which is basically your immune system. And then the benefits of the 4 herbs and the way that they're blended in the exact amounts that they're blended is designed to provide what's called anti-mutagenic benefits. So it prevents cell mutation. And this is something that I also take every day. And I've been taking it every day since I was about 35. And
you still look 35.
Oh, thank you. If you were to look close, but I'll be 61 in a few weeks. So there you go.
I saw 61 a while ago. So
well, you look fabulous.
Nice age.
Let's just be honest. You look great too, Carol.
So then we have your Lomatium. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
It's Lomatium.
Lomatium, sorry.
Lomatium. No, that's a tough one.
And I love Jane. She posts, she shows these huge bins filled with this beautiful herb that she's raw harvested. It's grown in nature. She hasn't done anything to it. The universe, the goddess, the earth gives it to her. And she goes up to the secret place and harvests and brings it back to her facility. And then you see this, you can smell it in the air. So let's talk about that, because I have recommended everyone do this, especially with this pandemic we have. We have to support our immune systems.
Right. Yes. So Lomatium only grows in the wild, and it only grows in the Pacific Northwest of the United States. And we actually own property where it grows, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. It grows on rocky slopes that face south. So it's kind of particular. And the part of the plant that we use is the root. So it's really important that it's wildcrafted or harvested sustainably. And that's the whole thing with anything that's herbal, and unless you're cultivating things. But if you're out foraging or wildcrafting, first of all, you need to know how to identify the plant and the proper time of year to collect it and the proper time of day to collect it and all of that. And then you have to know how to do it sustainably so that it will keep growing in the place where it grows. I mean, this is a part of the art of it. But the nice thing about Lomatium, and my dad studied Lomatium for about 30 years. It was probably one of the plants that I saw him study the most, if I were to be. And he studied a lot of plants, and we had jars and bottles and bins and stuff all over the house. But Lomatium is what's known as a broad spectrum antimicrobial. So it's not it's not for the immune system, but it clears out viral loads, fungal loads. yeasts, things like candida, and it allows the immune system to do its job so it's not overrun with these microbes. And what I believe, and I've come to believe over the years, is the biggest medicinal quality of lomatium is that it's antiviral. So when this whole pandemic hit, I was like, okay. Like there's never been, and I was one of those people that got COVID in February of 2020. So before everything went nuts, I still to this day have very robust antibodies, which is cool.
Wow,
And the
that's
only thing
great.
I've ever done is lomatium.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so you take the root, and then what do you do with it?
So we dig the root out, and it's like I said, it grows on rocky slopes. So we have to use a pickaxe, and it's a whole thing. And then what we do is we bring it back to a place where we have it all set up. We have these drying racks, and we do this in the late fall because that's when all the medicinal properties of the plant are at its highest.
Mm-hmm.
And then we chop the roots up, and we slice them up, and we put them on drying racks. And I think, I don't know if you're still there, Carol. I think we lost each other. Look, but okay, so it looks like we're still live. I'm going to keep going. So we slice up this root and we put it on drying racks. And then we let it dry and cure for anywhere from 30 to 60 days. Depends on the kind of airflow we have and the warmth where we're drying it. So I'm not quite sure what to do. It looks like we're still live, but Carol's gone. Carol. Well, I'm going to hang here for a minute and see if Carol comes back.